Right, and the award for Best Hardcore Thrash Metal goes to... Simpsons Christmas Boogie! Oh!
It's the year 2000. The 90s and the 20th century have gone out amongst the sound of fireworks, Cliff Richard's Millennium Prayer and Cisco's The Thong Song. Britpop has given way to post-Britpop. The boy band craze is fading. The dawn of the download age makes its faltering start, with Metallica suing Napster into oblivion, and the iPod still almost 2 years away. Let's travel back in time now then to this liminal year, as I bang on for a bit about my 5 favourite albums from the year 2000. Since I Left You, the Avalanches. Like some kind of crazy-ass felting collage, Since I Left You takes 900 plus excerpts of other musical artists, and random audio clips dating back to the 50s, including golf instructional videos in Sesame Street, and weaves them all together into a plunderphonics cornucopia. It's even more impressive when you realise the Avalanches didn't have access to Spotify or YouTube, or any of dem fellas, and instead had to scour record shops for the samples they needed, or wait till the tunes they wanted cycled round on the radio to take them. Although the Avalanches abandoned the idea of making Since I Left You a concept album per se, it still feels like it takes you on a journey, the first 2/3 being one long party, handing the baton from one track to the next, and the final act being the more chilled winding down at the end of the night. My favourite track, and probably still my favourite music video of all time, is Frontier Psychiatrist. What a magnificently nonsensical little vignette on criminally insane school truancy. Kid A, Radiohead. So when I first heard Kid A, I was like, excuse me Radiohead, where's the angsty guitar? They were probably the first band I was probably into as a teenager, so this hard left turn into electronic music kind of felt like a betrayal, and I guess a lot of 90s Radiohead fans probably felt the same way. But also, like a lot of other Radiohead fans, it grew on me. Some of the tracks are still a bit muffly and shuffly and meandering for my taste. I'm Looking at You title track, but I love the bleepity-beep flat beats of Idiotech, the heartachy funerary tones of motion picture soundtrack, and the solid central riff and zesty wind instrument wig out of the national anthem. Possibly less well put together than the next couple of albums, that's understandable given it was very much an experiment, and perhaps a disjointed feeling as part of what Radiohead were trying to convey with this one. Things to Make and Do, Moloko. With 18 tracks, it's a fairly chonky boy for starters, but even allowing for that, this album covers a lot of territory, from the retro jazzy vibes of Pure Pleasure Seeker to the playful electronic dicking about of if you have a cross to bear you may as well use it as a crutch, and the bouncy energy of Indigo through to the flamenco-y guitar and orchestral strings of The Time Is Now. Mostly I'm a sucker for Roisin Murphy's growly, punchy, textured vocals. Combined with the trip-hoppy overlap, definitely feels like she's doing a bit of a Beth Gibbons from Portishead impression on the tracks Absent-Minded Friends and Mother. And the chef's kiss on this album is the final track, Sing It Back, deservedly remixed from its original version and expanded to a glorious 9 minutes in length. Lost Souls, Doves. Bit like Kid A, Lost Souls is another hard left turn by a band. They had been a dance act called Sub Sub, but then the recording studio burnt down, destroying all the tapes and albums they'd been working on. So they phoenixed one off, became Doves, and produced something totally different. There's a couple of different flavours of indie on this album. Catch the Sun feels more distinctly 90s, and The Cedar Room is a classic clap-along anthem. But the most of the rest of the album is a spooky-ass mix of weird warbles, echoes, crickets, owl-like screeches and reverbs. A lot of it kind of sounds like the Doves are jamming with a whale probe out of Star Trek 4. Overall, the album has a vibe of floating around a haunted house, full of memories, but where the resident ghosts are reflecting on their triumphs, as well as their tragedies. My favourite track, The Man Who Told Everything, perfectly balances profound melancholy with hopeful possibility. The Sophtware Slump, Grandaddy. Grandaddy frontman and songwriter Jason Lytle described his creative process for this album as in my boxer shorts, bent over keyboards, with sweat dripping off my forehead, frustrated, hungover, and trying to call my coke dealer. Which doesn't exactly sound promising, but out of such sweaty, cocaine-deprived beginnings emerged the genius of the Sophtware Slump. Aside from the beautiful melodies and composition, there's an impressively tight through-line in the themes and story of this concept album. The album title itself was Flipping the Bird to the dot-com bubble, and the lyrics throughout riff on the pitfalls of technology and our relationship with it. Natural sounds like running water or birdsong are emulated electronically. We're introduced to the recurring character of Jed, a robot with an alcohol problem, but the soul of a poet. And one of the most delightfully specific premises for a song ever, Miner at the Dial of You, tells the story of an astronaut miner on some distant planetoid, longingly viewing locations and loved ones back on Earth, through some kind of fairground booth-esque space telescope. Whilst lyrically it's often a bit bleak and cautionary, tune-wise we get a nice mix. Broken Household Appliance National Forest is pretty buzzy, and Crystal Lake is pretty damn rockin'. Underneath the Weeping Willow is so friggin' painfully sad that every time I listen to it, I somehow expect the faltering delivery to cut out completely. And then there's He's Simple, He's Dumb, He's the Pilot, which is a classically unwieldy Grandaddy title to start with. The track is just shy of 9 minutes on the album, and went on for about half an hour when I saw them live in the early noughties, but I loved every second of it. When the guitar kicks in at the minute and a half mark, perfection. An ode to breaking orbit from the gravity well of expectation. Don't give in, 2000 man.
Tonight will make you feel alright. Simpsons Christmas Boogie.